So this is just a quick video for the guys at Telerik support regarding what I believe is a bug in the wizards and for generating the open access domain model. And if it's not a bug, then this is what I'm requesting be changed. So as you can see, I'm using the most current version, the most current internal build of Telerik ORM 2012.1.427.1. I'm going to go into the data project and I'm going to add a new domain model. I'll accept the defaults. I'm going to choose a connection that exists. And as you can see, all of my tables exist within a schema here called process management. Now, where I see this being a bug is down here at the bottom for the use schema names for namespaces. This phrase is very misleading because what you're actually asking the person to do using this wizard is to abandon the project namespace. So although the wizard is designed to put everything in the project namespace and benefit from the project namespace, what this select box or what this checkbox is having you do is basically abandon all of that, and instead of using the project namespace at all, and instead of building on top of it, which most of us would do from a development perspective, we're not building on top of that namespace. We're basically, this checkbox is basically ignoring the project namespace altogether for the objects themselves. And because it's inconsistent with the way the rest of the project is being built out, I see this as being a bug because, again, you know, what you'll see is that two sets of objects or two sets of classes are built or generated entirely different. So let's go through this real quick. I'm going to pluralize my collections, and I'm going to singularize the class themselves. I'm going to continue through the defaults. Now, at this point, the diagram gets generated properly. Everything's successful. I can go in here and build the project, and I know that syntactically everything is correct. If I look at the actual the entity diagram itself, you'll see that the namespace itself for the diagram and for the high-level objects are actually benefiting from the project namespace. So you can see that this diagram is sitting in ORM bug.data in that namespace. However, if I look at the objects themselves, the individual objects have essentially blown away that project namespace altogether and are using their own namespace. And yes, it is using a namespace that that has the schema name within it, but you're using that schema name instead of the project namespace. And at least from everything I'm seeing, you know, as those objects get used within the subsequent projects, you know, that build on top of that data project, it's just, you know, syntactically, it's horrible. If we look at the actual ND diagram itself, the logic behind it, we'll see that again, we're in the ORM bug.data namespace, and all of the objects that you would expect to see in here, even the collections, and this is where it becomes, this is where I say it becomes inconsistent, even the collections of those objects and the accessors for those collections are here in that project namespace. But if we actually look at the persistence object, or if we look at the entity, we'll see that we've essentially blown away the entire namespace for the project, and we've basically dropped back a couple levels and created our own namespace just for that schema. So again, what I would expect to have happened here was for that schema to be used to build on top of the project namespace. So instead of seeing just a namespace of process management in this example, what I would have expected to see is ormbug.data.process management, and continuing that pattern because I've told you to use the schema names within the namespace and not instead of the namespace from the project.